What's a regrettable piece of information you unfortunately know? That my girlfriend doesn't want me. During middle school, I didn't have friends cause I was a weird little guy and everyone found me annoying. I met a girl in 7th grade, her name was Alex, we were friends. She used to kick me in the balls because we thought it was funny, and since this was the only attention I was getting, I fell in love with her. 8th grade is when I asked her out. She said no, so I asked again twice and she said no twice. After the pandemic, I made some friends from middle school and we became close. They were my friends up until recently. This is important for later on. I met with Alex back up at the beginning of 10th grade. She was sitting alone in class and she looked very sad cause nobody wanted to talk to her, so because I had a crush on her I said hi. We got close quickly. She was deeply troubled, had bad grades, bad hygiene, and no friends. She was basically a femcel. I still liked her though. After the span of a year we were basically inseparable. Wherever I was she was, and etc. I planned to ask her out on the last day of school, but foolishly I told my friend, I'm going to call him Ken, I told Ken that I was going to ask her out in trust. He asked her out the next day and she said yes. I was heartbroken. I then ghosted her, or she didn't like that. She was sad without me and wanted to talk about what happened, so I said alright. We talked by the school stairs. I explained what happened to her and I told her it's okay if you want to be with, I just can't be just a friend to you. I want to be more, but I can't force you to do anything. She then broke up with him, saying she got with him out of pity. 2 days later we both agreed that we liked each other and we started to officially date. This was one of the first times I have ever felt genuine joy in my life. As I said before, she was kind of a female, so I decided to help her. I got her out of her shell. She suddenly had friends, was showering regularly, and she dressed amazingly. I loved her because of everything she was. She was amazing. We could talk for hours. She brought me joy and we made each other better people. We were happy. Then some problems happened. She used to SH and I hated that, so I made sure to always be there for her whenever she needed me. She has had 4 serious mental breakdowns with me and I was there to stop her from hitting herself, and I was there to make sure that she knew I was there for her and I loved her. I told her if she SH again I would have to rethink our relationship. She would post her SH on Twitter, sort of bragging and saying how cool it is. I thought it was disgusting and not cool, so I told her and she understood. She and I one day before going to class, now we're in 11th, took half a bar each as a perk. We were fucked up. After that, I decided not to do drugs, but she took way more. It only became a problem when she vomited in class, and clearly I'll do drugs. After she was okay and sober, I told her to never take another one again or we would be over, and she listened. Our trust was always there. We loved each other and we would communicate properly our issues, and we listened. It was 3 days before her birthday last year. I got her favorite Deftones album, so this year I got her another one. After I bought it, she texted me that she wanted to break up. This was out of nowhere, and when I asked why, she didn't want to say. I found out today. She told me that she just didn't want to be with me, that it was that simple, and that she doesn't love me and I was just a person to her now. I broke down in the middle of class. While I was crying, I noticed her face. She was giggling at me like she just heard a funny joke. I was devastated. The girl I loved, whom I was always there for and whom I helped so that she could be happy and have a better life, was there lavishing on my misery. I still love her and I can't imagine a further without her. I'm close with her mother and she told me it's because of her BPD. I still love her and I don't know what to do. My best friend is in love with me. He straight up told me that he only pretended to be my friend because he thought eventually I'd fall madly in love with him. Before this happened, I thought he was aromantic, or mostly aromantic. I know he had a girlfriends before I knew him, but in the 8 years or so I knew him, I don't think he even had so much as a first date with someone. He didn't have many hookups, either. It just wasn't a thing he was super interested in. There was never a conversation where I specifically asked him if he was aromantic or not, but by the same token, there was never a conversation where he said, "Hey, this is Sarah, I'm going out with her on Saturday night," or anything like that. It wasn't unreasonable to assume he wasn't interested in a relationship with anyone, much less me. It wasn't just me who'd assumed this, either. Most of his other friends had made the same assumption, and so had his parents. He just hunkered down with this secret crush for 8 years and was then surprised that I hadn't picked up on it. He told me he'd assumed the same thing about me because of a couple of offhand comments I'd made within a few months of meeting him. I'd totally forgotten I'd even made those comments. They just weren't the kind of thing most people would spend years mulling over. He also assumed that I'd pick up on it because he'd spent so much time around me, as if it was abnormal for friends to spend time together. He followed this up with this really weird meltdown about all his thoughts on his high school girlfriends, and a couple of people he'd known online that he'd also secretly pursued relationships with that either reciprocated for a little while before cutting contact, or always thought he was a creep but he didn't ever pick up on it. It was just a very surreal conversation that I wasn't expecting to ever have with anyone, much less him. It's just really unfortunate, because this was someone I'd previously considered a best friend. I'd assumed we were going to be friends for life before this happened, and he was someone I genuinely thought of as a brother before that.